Hey guys, Bartel's Bookshelf here, back after a short hiatus. Sorry about that, for not uploading videos in a little while. I had kind of a rough uh, time mental health wise lately, and I just kind of needed to disconnect from social media a little bit and kind of recenter myself. But I'm feeling a lot better, so I'm back here to talk more about books and hopefully to engage more with you lovely people in the community, because that's the main reason I make these videos, is I love connecting with other book lovers about books. And yes, I'm coming back with a book haul video. I know I said I was on the book ban, and technically I still am, but today was a special day because it was the Independent Bookstore Day 2022 in the Greater Sacramento area, where a bunch of independent bookstores were participating in a thing where they were having sales. You could get stamps for each store you went to. There's a little checklist of like stuff you can do. A bunch of the participating bookstores. So me and my friend Nakia from Plot Twist and Laura, we went to I think 6 out of the 10 participating bookstores. We didn't buy something at every single one, but we wanted to sort of stop and see as many as we could. But we went to we went to 6 bookstores, including Beers Books, J Crawford's Books, Underground Books, Capital Books, and Wild Sisters Book Company. These are all in downtown Sacramento because that's close to where we live. I'll put up some pictures for you to see. And yeah, we ended up getting 15. Well, I ended up getting 15 books that I have here to show to you. Aaron actually gave me some money because I told him, we had been planning this little excursion since we first heard about it, and he was like, okay, like I'll give you some money. And I only spent the money that he gave me, so I know technically I did break the ban, but it was special dispensation from Aaron, so I'm not going to count it. But along with the books, I actually got some cool freebies, like this beer koozie from Beers Books, which is really cool. I don't really have any use for it. I don't really drink beer that often or anything. I don't really have any need for it, but still, it's a cool little freebie. And I also got this pin from Underground Books that says, "I read dangerously." I just thought that was really cool. So, yeah. A lot of really cool stores, really nice people. Support your independent bookstores, support your local bookstores if you can. So, anyway, let's get into the actual haul. So these 3 I was really happy to find. So these are the first 3 novels in Roger Zelazny's Amber series. That is Book 1, 9 Princes in Amber. Book 2, The Guns of Avalon. And Book 3, Sign of the Unicorn. So this is a very famous series from Mr. Zelazny here, who I've talked about endlessly on this channel. I just discovered him for the first time last year after reading Night in the Lonesome October, and I loved it, and I read Princes of Light and Darkness, I think it was called, or Creatures of Light and Darkness, which was also a really good book. And ever since then, I've just been on a Zelazny kick. I've bought tons of his books, and this is kind of his sort of magnum opus, I guess you'd say. This is a big series. It's a 10-book series with there's individual arcs, so five books each. And these are the first 3 books of that first arc. So from what I understand, I've heard a lot about this. It's sort of a interdimensional fantasy where it's these princes who live in this world called Amber, and there's another world called Chaos, and the people of these like worlds have the ability to sort of jump between dimensions, between different worlds, and it's just sort of about like the stuff that happens to them. Really interesting. Sounds really cool. This was written in the 70s mostly. Well, this first half was written in the 70s, so I'm hoping it'll be really, really interesting, really fun, really retro, and because it's Roger Zelazny, I'm hoping it'll be very beautifully written, which I'm sure it will be. I would have gotten all 5 of the first series, but they didn't have them all in these editions, and I really liked these, so I went online afterward and I bought the last 2 books in this first cycle in these editions, because I don't know, I think they're cool. I love these like small, these little Avon paperbacks and stuff, so yeah, was really happy to get that. In a similar vein, this is When Gravity Fails by George Alec Effinger. I honestly don't know much about this, but it was $2.25, and I believe Moid Moidelhoff at Media Death Cult has spoken highly of. I think he's talked about this book, and he's talked about George Alec Effinger kind of in general. But this sort of sounds like kind of a cyberpunky kind of thing, about a guy named Merid Audrin, who lives in this decadent world of cheap pleasures and easy death called the Budayin. So it's sort of like a decadent, like Arabic ghetto, I guess, as it says on the back here. And it talks about there's a serial killer going around who uses bootlegged personality cartridges, which range from a sinister James Bond to a sadistic disemboweler named Khan. So it just sounds this guy Merid gets hired to sort of take down this killer. It sounds really weird and cyberpunky and interesting. Heard a lot of good things about George Alec Effinger in general, so I'm looking forward to that. Next, I have The Forgotten Beasts of Eld by Patricia A. McKillip. This is a sort of a very classic fantasy novel from the 70s, I believe. Let me have a look. 1974. So yeah, this is a sort of a classic fantasy novel that I honestly don't know much about. I've heard a lot about it. It's won a ton of awards. And on the back here, it says winner of the World Fantasy Award. So it's just a book I've heard a lot about. So it says, 16 when a baby is brought to her to raise, Sybil has grown up on Eld Mountain with only the fantastic creatures called there by wizardry as playmates. She has cared nothing for humans until the baby awakens emotions previously unknown, and when Corin, the man who brought this child, returns, Sybil's serenity is again shattered. So it sounds very like mythical, very like fairy tale-esque, and I love that sort of stuff. I had a skim through some of the first few pages of the book, and it's very beautifully written, so I'm into that. So hopefully that's good. Looking forward to that. And then I have The Black Company by Glen Cook. This is another sort of fantasy classic that I've heard a lot about. Published in the 80s, I believe. 1984, yeah. So this is sort of an 80s, kind of a pre-grimdark fantasy, from what I understand, about the titular Black Company. Who's a group of hard-bitten men, sort of soldiers who have to go on adventures and fight things and all that stuff. I've heard it's sort of as I said, it's sort of a progenitor of grimdark, or kind of an influence on that. I actually heard had this recommended recently because I've been getting into the Dark Souls games recently. I'm almost done with Dark Souls 2. And I was looking for fantasy novels that kind of fit that sort of vibe, and a lot of people recommended this, so that just kind of convinced me even further to finally read this classic. So there you go. And then I have Tales of Robin Hood by Clayton Emery. This is a new telling of the legend of Sherwood. I don't know anything about this, but it was $1.75. It's a retelling of Robin Hood. Talks about like a demon boar ravaging the countryside. In fact, the first chapter is from the boar's perspective, which I thought was really interesting. And I mean, just that cover art, isn't that awesome? I had to grab it. It was cheap, and I loved the cover. The writing was interesting from what I skimmed of the first chapter. So yeah, I love Robin Hood. Anything like that, Arthurian fantasy, English, Celtic fantasy. I love that sort of stuff. So yeah, hopefully that's good. I have this is one that I was really excited to find. I've heard a lot about it, been wanting to read it for a while. This is Heroes Die by Matthew Woodring Stover. This is sort of a fantasy novel that takes place kind of in two worlds. One of it takes place on Earth with this guy named Harry Michelson, who's this kind of a superstar, sort of a celebrity who goes into this sort of alternate reality called Ancana, where he's known as Cain, or the Blade of Tishali, and he's sort of like your kind of prototypical like fantasy sword and sorcery hero, but it's sort of this almost like a soap opera or a TV show or something that this guy is like involved in, and his wife has mysteriously disappeared in the slums of Ancana. To save her, he must confront the greatest challenge of his life, a lethal game of cat and mouse with the most treacherous rulers of two worlds. So it sounds really, really cool. I've heard a lot about this. This has gotten been getting a lot of press recently. I think Patrick Leo reviewed this a while ago, and he really, really loved it. I've heard a lot about Matthew Woodring Stover because he wrote a couple Star Wars novels that were really well regarded. So just been looking forward to this. I really hope it's good. Hope I like it. So yeah. And then finally, on the sort of sci-fi fantasy paperback front, these small paperbacks. This is another one that I was really, really happy to find. This is Red Dwarf. Infinity Welcomes Careful Drivers by Grant Naylor, which is a portmanteau of Rob Grant and Doug Naylor, who were the titular writers and creators of the eponymous writers and creators of Red Dwarf. It's a portmanteau of both of their names. Red Dwarf, if you don't know, is a very, very well-regarded British sci-fi sitcom. It's really, really funny, but it also has a lot of really interesting sort of science fictional concepts in it. Kind of a Hitchhiker's Guide sort of vibe. I really, really love it. Aaron's a big fan of it, obviously. And again, Moid Moidelhoff at Media Death Cult has praised. There's two books. There's this one, and I can't remember what the other one is called. Maybe it's listed in here. Yeah, I don't know what it's called. I'll have to look it up. But there were two books. This is the first one, which I believe adapts the first episode or the first few episodes of the series. So I'm really looking forward to that. This is actually really hard to find in America. Most of the copies I was looking at online were British editions that were like way too much fucking money to ship out here. So I was really excited to find this. I grabbed it immediately. I love Red Dwarf. I'm sure this will be good because it's the writers of the original show. So I'm really looking forward to that. Hope it, really, really hope it's good. So yeah, looking forward to what, Lister, Rimmer, and the gang get up to. So and then some other sort of fantasy stuff. All these are kind of bigger paperbacks in a hardcover. And these are newer as well, so this is why I'm putting them kind of in this loose category. This is Burn by Patrick Ness. Patrick Ness is a writer that I've read before. He wrote More Than This, which I thought was interesting. I didn't love it, but it was interesting. And he also wrote the Chaos Walking series, the first book of which is The Knife of Never Letting Go, which again I've heard a lot of good things about, been wanting to read. But I had to get this just based on the concept. So it takes place in an alternate 1957 with this girl, Sarah Dewhurst, who works with her father on a farm, and they have to hire a dragon to work on their farm, which is something only the poorest of the poor ever have to resort to. And dragons are kind of like seen as like second-class citizens in a way. Like people don't trust them, they don't like them, they're looked down upon. But apparently stuff gets involved. There's like a prophecy that involves a deadly assassin, a cult of dragon worshippers, 2 FBI agents in hot pursuit, and somehow Sarah Dewhurst herself. So an alternate history fantasy set in the 1950s with talking dragons. I mean, that sounds awesome, right? So I have to read that. And I have, this is Rise of Empire by Michael J. Sullivan. This is volume 2 of the Rhaeria Revelations. This is a collection of... it's 2 novels bound up, Nifron Rising and The Emerald Storm. So this is a series that's gotten a lot of love on BookTube, especially among fantasy fans. I have the first one, so this one was really, really cheap. It was $3, so I was like, why not? Have not read them yet, but I've heard nothing but praise for them. It's about 2 sort of rogues, Royce and Hadrian, who are sort of, Fafford and the Grey Mouser type, like good friends who are always like getting into scrapes and stuff. I've heard a lot of good things about this. People say it's like just really fun. People say like Royce and Hadrian have just like one of the best bromances ever in fantasy. People just say like it's just tons and tons of fun, and I love that sort of stuff. I'm in the mood for that kind of stuff, so maybe I'll start the first book at some point. So, but yeah, I've heard a lot of good things. Really excited to get into this. Then I have The Wolving Time by Patrick Jennings. This is I think it's either young adult or middle grade, sort of a children's book about werewolves, so of course I had to grab it. Laszlo Mbarek is caught between 2 worlds, the bucolic life of a shepherd, tending his family's small flock of sheep with his beloved dog, Geezy, and the secret life of his parents, who can become wolves at will. Laszlo has long yearned for the day when he will run beside them through the woods, when he will learn to change. But before that day arrives, the family's secret is discovered by a village girl, a ward of the cruel and corrupt priest, no less. Now Laszlo must choose whether to remain in one world or dwell in two, and decide for himself who is the true monster, the gentlefolk who can turn themselves into magnificent wolves, or the men who would gladly see them burned alive. And it's set in late 16th century France, so maybe it has like sort of a Beast of Gévaudan kind of vibe. But it's a children's book about werewolves. I had to get it. I love that cover. It's beautiful. I really, really hope it's good. Really looking forward to that. And then finally, I know it's been kind of a short haul for me. This is unusual, but I've been wanting to get, as I said before, I've been wanting to get more into Westerns due to mostly from Michael K. Vaughan, who's been talking a lot about Westerns and been prepping for his June on the Range reading challenge, reading month. So I grabbed 3 Westerns while I was out. 3 of them, one of them's a classic, and 2 of them were writers that that Michael K. Vaughan had highly recommended in his various videos about Westerns. So the first one is Riders of the Purple Sage by Zane Grey. This is probably one of the most famous Western novels ever written. On the back here it says 1.2 million copies sold in hardcover. This is like the Western novel. This is kind of what like codified the entire genre. And I've never read it. I know Zane Grey was very respected in his day. Robert E. Howard was a fan. So I'm really looking forward to that. This classic Western that I've never read before. Really excited to dig into that at some point. Maybe for June on the Range. I already had a few books set aside for June on the Range, but really the only rule for June on the Range is to read Westerns. So if I can, I would like to get to that. Next I have, what is it? Deadly Pursuit by T.V. Olsen. Again, T.V. Olsen was a writer that Vaughan had highly recommended. He said he was a big fan. And apparently he not only wrote Westerns, he also wrote sort of these big, dense historical novels. But this sounds like a very classic Western. It's about a guy, an aging gunman named Silas Pine, who wants one last chance to make peace with his son, who is marshal in the isolated town of Grafting, Wyoming. But he arrives in the middle of a bank robbery, so he and his son kind of have to team up and awkwardly kind of work together, not only to repair their relationship, but to take down this posse, this deadly posse. So that just sounded really entertaining. It's one of the old leisure westerns, so Vaughan showed off a bunch of those, so I had to grab it. Sounds really fun. Winner of the Spur Award, which is like one of the biggest Western novel awards. So, yeah, looking forward to that. Hope it's good, and it's not long either. It's only about 235 pages. So, looking forward to that. And then finally, I have High Prairie by Hiram King. This is another leisure western. Again, Vaughan recommended him in some of his Western-related videos, and the main reason that I was interested in Hiram King is that he was one of the few, or he is, I think he's still alive, one of the few African-American authors of Western novels, and in fact, the main character in this novel, Cole Granger, is a black cowboy. So I just thought that was really, really interesting, a perspective that you don't normally see in this genre. So I had to try him out. I think he only wrote this and one other novel, I believe, which is a shame. But I'll have to read it and see if it's good. I really hope it is. Really interested to dig into this sort of a unsung area of the Western genre. So yeah, looking forward to that. So yeah, that was it. That was my first haul back after sort of my brief hiatus. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you've read any of these, let me know. What did you think? Did you like them? Did you hate them? Where would you recommend I start? Talk to me about books. That's why we're here. So I look forward to. I have my May wrap up coming in the next day or two here. I want to finish up a few things, and and then I have to just film it. So yeah, looking forward to engaging with all of you again. That's why I'm here. That's why we're all here. We're all here for books, right? I love books. So let's get a conversation going. Let's talk about books. So yeah, hope you guys have a good night or a good day or wherever you are. And hope you enjoyed. Bye.